Let's go to Oklahoma for a moment because, you talk about, the push for guns in the states and the push against women's health in the states and the rabid anti-work, anti-middle class agenda that you're seeing with Scott Walker in Wisconsin, but in Illinois and other places across the country. We saw in Oklahoma this last week, a story that's erupted with these just obscene racist chants done by some Oklahoma college students at a fraternity, the SAE fraternity. And, it's been an amazing thing to watch. Somehow Morning Joe was able to sort of turn this into blaming rap music, which was both mind-blowingly stupid and also out-of-date mind-blowingly stupid. That segment seemed much more fitting for 1990. I mean, you might know this better than me, Cliff. I wasn't really, 1950, before the invention of the genre of rap music, it might have been more fitting. But just a kind of shockingly stupid thing. And then we talked about Bill Kristol sitting on a panel there talking about, the power of media to create violence in the world and cultural cesspools. I think, Bill Kristol's responsible for more human misery than Waka Flocka Flame could even conceive of personally. But at any rate, this really important additional piece that you raised with me when we were talking about today's show with regards to Oklahoma, I think is also really worth highlighting, which is that, look, this is another state that doesn't want to teach proper American history, and that includes a proper understanding of the history of slavery, the history of Jim Crow, and any other number of just realities of our racial history. So when you're talking about context for this obscene racism, how the hell can we not talk about the assault on history in Oklahoma schools?
Well, that's exactly right. And, if there seems like there's a correlation between many of the things you just said, there is. I mean, it's in these very same states where they are trying to limit what you can talk about, we saw it recently with Governor Alien Face there in Florida, not allowing people to discuss, global warming or climate change, right, saying that people in his cabinet couldn't discuss this. They also, by the way, have a law they passed there that's gone back and forth, bounced between the courts and been upheld and rejected, which is to not allow doctors to warn their patients that having a gun in the house makes it more likely you'll get shot. So, these are scientific facts, these two things I just mentioned. So is it, just like in Oklahoma, we're talking about historical fact here, slavery, genocide of Native Americans.
Right.
But that's anti-American because it doesn't say, that we're all exceptional and wonderful. And so they're trying to alter their AP test there because they don't want this taught, because the best thing you can do with historical fact, scientific fact, when it doesn't support your crazy ideology is just ban it, which
right,
is, of course, what they do in places like, Iran, just to pick one out of a hat. And so this is you see this happening across the country right now, and it's in these very same places where they're stopping people from being educated and from learning the actual truth. Where, as you pointed out, they are passing these crazy gun laws, or not lack thereof. They're passing these crazy laws to restrict women's reproductive health and other rights, where they're denying climate change science and a variety of other matters. They're attacking workers' rights and then saying they're in favor of the middle class. Because reality can't be allowed to intrude. I mean, it's the new communism. They have an ideology, and it doesn't matter what reality comes in. I mean, that's the irony of all of this,
right,
which is between their religious nuts and their corporate nuts, they're no different than the radical Muslims they hate, and the communists they supposedly hate. And so just one last thing, you've also got a law was just proposed. I mean, this is just insanity also in Kansas, which is another state that has been the leader in assaulting women's rights, for example, where prosecutors can prosecute somebody if through books and other
we
materials
talked
they
about
introduce,
this on the show, yeah,
right, materials that are sexually to them, which is, I guess, explaining that that their whole theory on the HPV, right, that sex exists, exactly, the HPV vaccine is not causing people to get autism or the bubonic plague or whatever it is they're claiming today. And so if you give somebody a book where there's one sex scene, I mean, this is like out of like the town in Footloose, man.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, that's what we're getting here, right? When do they build the big bonfire and throw Slaughterhouse-5 in there and everything else? It's just, that we're living through this.